Greeting interwebs! This is Jackie K, and despite what the last episode made you feel, welcome to another edition of Mad Rat Dead, not any other video game. That said, I do want to finish off that tangent before I forget, because I swear it ties back to the game. Nothing too important is happening anyways. Mad Rat just got rid of the human. He's finally ready to die in peace. So, I guess we're at the end of the game soon. So this would probably be my last chance to talk about it anyways. Feel free to actually watch the cutscene while I'm rambling, if you're curious just how deep Rat does or doesn't go. But I think, like, I was just talking about Golden Sun, and just how people, like, hate on the little thing, what I think are the little things of it. It's a little hard, especially with my bias, to separate what's considered a little thing to me and what's considered a little thing to someone else. But to me, like, the whole core gameplay is what's good. And what people seem to complain about are things that are a part of the game, but I wouldn't consider being the defining features of it. And it's not just Golden Sun. Coliseum's another game that I've kind of been getting back into lately. It's an older game, so there's definitely some flaws that are a lot more noticeable now, just because of how much game design has improved over the past, wow, I think like centuries. It's almost safe to say a couple centuries since Coliseum's been released. And I think it ties back to Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 because it's a similar situation of the games have aged, and that's part of the reason why people don't enjoy them now. But for me, the core of all those games have remained intact, and when I focus on that core that makes the game, and not just everything that is the result of it being a game, I gotta explain it better than that. The things that are good about all these games I enjoy outweigh the things that are bad about them, and I think that's what should matter the most. That's the whole point of everything I've been talking about. And kind of like Mad Rat Dead, Coliseum, at least when I've been live streaming it for the randomizer, I've noticed I've been, maybe just for the sake of just filling up dead air, I've been focusing a lot on the flaws of Coliseum. Kind of like how I've been doing with Mad Rat, where like even though I enjoy this game, I find myself like so fixated on all the little things going wrong. I think part of it's just like, in the moment, that's what's happening. The game may be overall good, but while I'm commentating, the part of the game where I have dead air is the part that's kinda meh. Like, if there's nothing else going on, and I notice that the battle's been taking a long time, because the animations, as good as they are, go for so long, then it's not that big of a shock when my commentary becomes completely fixated on the battles taking so long. I mean, I feel like turning Pokemon Coliseum Randomizer into an edited series and not just directly uploading the VODs from Twitch was a good choice for this exact reason. Tying it back to this game, I kind of worry that I'm kind of like making the game feel worse or sound worse than it actually is because of a very similar reason of just in the heat of the moment of commentary. It's more interesting to talk about what happens when, how this particular death is a little more unique from the other times I died in a similar way than it is to just go, oh my god, I love the music, oh my god, I love the music, oh my god, I love the music, over and over and over again. And it's a little bit of a struggle to highlight what I like about the dialogue and narrative of the game without literally reading what's going on in the game itself. You can only say the music's so great so many times. Oh my, okay. That tangent can continue later. Can we, on the tangent of me like pointing out every time something goes wrong, can we like take a moment to ponder what the heck happened there? What the heck happened there? Whoa. That said, before going back to defending how a game can be good even if it has bad moments, let's take a moment to appreciate that just because a moment is bad doesn't mean it's bad. From a programming standpoint, that was a terrible thing to happen. But as a player, that was just a moment of pure joy. That moment alone makes up for every time a homing attack has gone wrong in this playthrough. And you may be going, Jacket K, why? That was bad. How can something bad be enjoyable? Well, one, the English language sucks, because we can have one word mean like 20 different things. But two, fun can come from perfection. There's definitely times that perfection can lead to fun, but the opposite can hold true as well. Like, it's almost like human nature is a complicated beast that people have been struggling to try to turn into a formulaic solution for ages, but never totally succeeded at it. After all, we have the whole frickin' is so bad it's good genre, the guilty pleasure genre. Things that we acknowledge are bad, but can still enjoy. That kind of like more so goes into like the Sonic feel of things than anything else, because there are things I legitimately enjoy about Sonic, but I can see that there's plenty of things that people ironically enjoy about it as well. And I think that's a problem that I kinda have. People are so fixated on just being perfect over being fun. And that's what all the games that I brought up today seem to have in common. Games I like from the Sonic series, Golden Sun, Pokemon Coliseum, and this one. Not to mention there's probably one or other two games I've been playing recently that were coming to mind with this topic as well. The fact of having, like, the fundamentals of your game being enjoyable to the point where I'm able to overlook the flaws of it. But kind of wondering if, like, if other people are missing out because they're so focused on the flaws of it. It only gets frustrating because it seems like you're missing out on something if you're only focusing on the core, or I mean, focusing on the elements outside of the core gameplay when judging the whole game altogether. Though I've also been inspired to kind of look more into the flaws of games and what makes things enjoyable versus not, because a lot of the things I like, despite having really solid cores, are really niche, and there's apparently a reason for that. Hey, where'd the music go? Heart? What is it? Huh? What is even going on anymore? Heart, why? Fix? What's there to fix? We won. The human's been defeated, Mad Rat can die happy. The only thing in the way is you. So it's really coming down to this. Yeah, we're fighting the heart. Despite being our ally this whole time through, I guess this is what it's coming down to. They could never see eye to eye. So it's just coming down to conflict. And oh boy, this fight's a bit of a doozy. Remember the complaints about how this game's biggest flaws is when it tries to do boss fights in enclosed arenas and doesn't embrace the movement options that being a rhythm platformer allows it to have? Yeah, I think like it's only gonna get worse from here. This platform is really tiny. There's enough platforms to give movement options. Oh my god, I feel so cursed. But now that I see it, I can't help but think of this as a battlefield. Smash Bros, Battlefield. But I mean, hey, it's designed that way for a reason. Like, you got lower platforms, upper platforms. It's better than nothing, and hopefully as we go through this fight, I can just showcase how to make the most of those platforms. Oh, this is a cute gimmick. Don't forget hearts are heart, so heart reverts time too, whenever they get hit. Thank you, Jackie K of the Past, for demonstrating that, just in case the viewers at home missed all the 20 million other times that I died throughout this adventure. I guess in that sense, we're on even terms. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, because we both can revert time if we're gonna die otherwise. So does this just go on forever and endlessly? The only way to find out is to let it play out, I suppose. But yeah, it's starting to get a bit more hectic. And like those bloodshot attacks, for lack of a better way to describe them, really showcase the importance of those platforms. Because you definitely need those movement options. I mean, I guess my overall point is you can tell they actually took mine, your movement option for the boss fight. I just don't know if it's enough. Like, this definitely feels a bit more narrow than the Mob Rat fight. And there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more hectic. Attacks are coming from a lot more angles. It kind of just, again, dives into one of the bigger flaws of this game, of just how boss fights kind of just feel cramped from time to time. That said though, there's still a lot of elements of this boss fight that I actually enjoy. Couldn't name any of them off the top of my head besides the music. But it definitely feels tense, and I feel like with just a little bit more refinement, maybe a little more space, this could be a really fun boss fight. I like the attacks, I like the movement options, I like the setup from this from a narrative option. Obviously, you may be able to tell that I'm being a little slew about everything going on in the story, just because I don't want to quite spoil it yet for anyone who hasn't caught on to what's really going on here. But especially after this fight, and we start to see the truth of what's going on here, it all clicks together. So I think the setup for this boss fight is perfect. It's kind of been alluded from the beginning that Mad Rat and Heart don't see eye to eye. A little hard to tell who's the crazy one, but someone's delusional, and it's only becoming more apparent who that is as the story goes on. Little hard to tell who's the crazy one, but someone's delusional, and it's only becoming more apparent who that is as the story goes on. I definitely see this boss fight being fantastic. There's only one problem. It's tied behind a rhythm game. Not to say that it's impossible to make it work with this format, but I think that's why these short, narrow arena boss fight areas struggle so much. They got everything else that they need for a boss fight mechanic arena, but like, when you have to not only pay attention to what's going on in the gameplay action, but to the rhythm of the beat, because your entire movement is hindered, as you just saw there, if I'm not tapping to the beat. And it can be a little distracting, especially like, sometimes I find myself not always catching on to the music rhythms and relying on the bars. So I'm looking down at the bars while I'm trying to avoid attacks. On top of it being a tiny arena, it's just like... Apologies if this is sounding like one giant time loop. But like I was saying at the beginning of this episode, I really love the core of Mad Rat Dead. It does have some flaws, and I don't think everyone's going to be able to overlook the flaws. Even more so than some of the other games that I've stated. Like, the flaws of Mad Rat Dead kind of interlope with the core that makes it enjoyable in the first place, a little bit more than some of the other games that I would defend. Like, as much as I love this game and I would love more people to know more about it, I cannot recommend this game to people who aren't rhythm game fans. Or at the very least, if you're real bad at rhythm games, it's a hard sell. The homing attack system, boss fight arenas, this game just struggles with trying to be more of a platformer than a rhythm game, not playing to its own strengths. The homing attack system, boss fight arenas, this game just struggles with trying to be more of a platformer than a rhythm game. And while it's easy just to say that whenever you're in an arena, that's when the game struggles, I think, like, at least for me personally, things like the Ghost Rat fight show you can have boss fights in this game and have them work. Not everyone likes the Ghost Rat fight from what I understand, but let's assume they do for the sake of this discussion. Boss fights can work in this game if you give players enough time to react and enough space to work around the limitations of the rhythm platformers feel. And that's, I think, are two things that this boss fight really doesn't do that well. Man, it's so hard because I just want to talk about, I feel bad just slamming this boss fight so much, and I want to talk about just how good some of the later stuff in this game get, but I feel like I'm spoiling too much as is. Just trust me though. There are some cool things in this, but I think between all the reasons I stated before, it doesn't work out that great. Maybe this could take some cues from a Mario game. Not exactly the first thing you think of when you think of rhythm platformer, but for one, they've dabbled in the elements before with like those blocks that turn on and off based on a particular beat. That's a useful element that they could have really expanded upon in Mad Rat Dead. And two, I don't normally bring this up because it's not typically the type of thing that I like out of a platformer boss fight, but I get why it happens, and that's like, instead of making a boss arena, just build a whole platforming level around a boss. Mario 3D World and New Super Mario Bros. Wii are two examples that come right to mind, where you are technically fighting Bowser. Spoilers, Bowser's the final boss of all the Mario games that I've stated. Like, he's not the final boss of practically every Mario game, minus the ones that I won't mention because it's actually a plot twist when he's not a boss because of how many times he is a boss. But I mean, that's what we like about Mario, what we like and what we don't like. Just saying how predictable it is kind of demeanors it a bit, but just how classic it is. I guess we'll go with that terminology. But yeah, like, there are plenty of platformer games that like take advantage of the fact of like, hey, we're making a game that's revolving around jumping around platforms and not just staying in one place and trying to fight something. Why don't we make our boss fight revolve around that and play to the strengths of our video game? More on that later. Now that I completely murdered that topic even more times than Mad Heart has murdered my soul, I think now's a good time to point out the timer on the upper left. And it's not gonna go down anytime soon. It's been a little bit since I brought it up, but yeah, like, to make up for the fact that you can pretty much restart from wherever you want, whenever you die, if your timer runs out, that's it. There's no redo beyond just starting from the very beginning of the level, aka in this case, boss fight. I mean, hey, you gotta add tension into the action wherever you can. Nothing wrong with a little tension for your action, right? Oh man. Is that a good case point for not really have enough space to work around with? Nah, because I managed to somehow get out of that area just fine. But I think between, I've talked about everything I wanted to with this boss fight at least 2 times, and the game's kind of standpoint of, we've been on this boss fight for long enough as is. Oh please, Jack K of the past. I don't care what it takes. Whack that heart somehow. Oh brother. At least you don't lose too much time when you reset. I assume the further back you go, the more time you lose. Or especially because you have to like retread back to the point where you died. But oh man, I can't remember the last time I had a boss fight that close. Thank God it's over. Hopefully just brutally beating up our heart doesn't have any negative repercussions for the rest of the narrative. How did I get an A rank with all that other mess in the mix? Yeah, there's something going on when the Mad Rat is telling you of what's going on. So there's a cheese that marks the end. Did I mention that we were chasing cheese this whole time? The fact that it has nothing to do with our prerogative in this adventure. The fact that cheese is good. I mean, it's probably just instinct. All rodents share. Nothing crazy behind that. Wait. Don't go over there. Why does he keep stalling the end of the story? A fine picture moment. Though, where are we now? Wasn't weird enough just passing out every 5 seconds and waking up in a completely different area? Now apparently just getting slapped in the face is enough to do the trick. Was it only 4 times? It felt like it was freaking forever. Arguably not meta humor, but I appreciate that joke. Awake now. Whatever. At least the human's still out of the picture. Right? And hey, the cheese is still there though. Wait. I think the cheese is alive. All in favor of running, say aye. That's one eye. I'll throw an eye. Now what about the rat? Okay. I think we got 3 eyes at this point. Let's just go for it. It'll be easier to explain the plot twist and everything I've been holding back in the commentary. When we're not in the heat of danger with our lives on the line. That said, it was either ending the episode off right when Hart died, or now. And I figured that this was the less painful of the two. Next time on our Mad Rat adventures, running for our lives, I guess. Hopefully we got some time to drop the plot afterwards though. Take care.